Welcome back to another episode of SWBC's Uncharted Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Mike Walters, and today we are talking about the retirement regrets that no one is talking about and maybe how to avoid them. When retirees look back, their biggest regrets usually have nothing to do with the stock market or picking certain investments. It has to do with missed planning opportunities or timing and different things that they just didn't know. So today, I'm going to break down the biggest regrets that retirees have and possibly some ways to avoid them. We'll start off today by going through the 5 biggest retirement regrets that most people see. Number 1, waiting too long to save. Now, not saving early or not being aggressive enough, that's just a matter of how disciplined are you being with the money that you're making. Now, according to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, and I'm going to read this from my card, nearly 70% of retirees wish they had saved more aggressively or started earlier. Now, if you're engaging with an advisor in your 50s or 60s, you know, when retirement is encroaching, that's about what we're seeing is most people wish that they would have engaged and started planning earlier. So if you're a younger person, maybe who's just starting out in their careers, now's the time to maybe start seeing about, hey, how can advisor or how can planning help me? But it's never too late. And the biggest reason why starting early is so important is because of the 8th wonder of the world, which is compounding interest. Okay, so the more time you have, okay, theoretically, the more time you have for your interest to compound on top of interest. So starting in your 50s just means that you're going to have a little bit more stress, a little bit less options. But again, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is today. So you want to avoid that. You want to start earlier than you think you have to and increase your savings as your income grows. Number 2, underestimating your healthcare costs. Now, if you're a client of mine, you already know that I've said this multiple times. The 2 biggest costs that you're going to have in retirement are your taxes and your healthcare costs. Now, I can do everything in my power to try and minimize your taxes over your lifetime, but I can't really directly help you with your healthcare costs. I, of course, encourage you to maintain a healthy lifestyle, so on and so forth, but the numbers don't lie, okay? So Fidelity put out a statistic, and we will link it at the bottom if you want to go see more information, but they estimate that the average couple that retires at age 65 is going to need roughly $315,000 in their retirement just to cover healthcare. And guess what? That does not cover any type of long-term care event. Okay, and that can be even more devastating to a portfolio. So this catches a lot of people off guard if they're not planning ahead for potential healthcare costs. Now, building healthcare into your retirement planning and taking into account a potential long-term care event, you want to look at these things early. And you know, many retirees wish they would have looked at these things, you know, much sooner, because unexpected medical bills, a long-term care event, things like that can derail even the best retirement plans. So we'll move on to number 3, claiming Social Security too early. Now, a lot of people don't really know when you can claim Social Security. So the simplest way to think about retirement Social Security benefits, we're not talking about disability Social Security benefits, but retirement Social Security benefits can start as early as age 62, and technically you can take it at any time after that. Okay, normally you don't want to take it past age 70 because your benefit stops growing after age 70. So you have a timeline from age 62 to 70 to take your Social Security. Now, about a third of retirees will come back and say that they regret taking Social Security at age 62. Well, why is that? Well, I think it's because most retirees, when they get later into retirement, they see their healthcare costs going up, general inflation. Their Social Security benefits are just not cutting what they expected it to cover. So it's going to permanently reduce your income. You are taking a, let's call it a pay cut from what your full retirement age benefit would have been. Now, most people that we're talking to, their full retirement age is age 67. So if you take it at 62, you're essentially taking some type percentage cut of what that FRA amount is going to be. And once you take it, you can't go back and change your mind. So it is a permanent decision. Now, I don't think the Social Security Administration sends out statements anymore. You actually have to log in, www.ssa.gov, create an account if you don't have one. But you can go on there and see your Social Security statement, and it will estimate what your benefits are from age 62 to age 70. Now, even taking it at 67 or 70, delaying can improve the amount of benefits that you receive over your lifetime by a substantial amount. But as I've mentioned in previous episodes, that this all depends on your life expectancy, what type of healthcare costs you should be planning for, and just your overall need of those benefits. Okay, so the main bottom line here is you need to treat Social Security as a strategic decision and not just a default, oh, I'm going to take as soon as I can. Okay, you really need to plan for that. Bruh. The fourth regret here is retiring without a purpose. And now these are not in any order of priority, but I would probably say that this bullet point here is the biggest regret that I see is retiring without a purpose. It just means that, this is not even a financial, it has nothing to do with money, right? Most people just say that they weren't prepared for the lifestyle shift. Okay, you've been accumulating your whole life. You've been working your career, you've been taking care of kids, you've had that normal day-to-day wake up, go to work, take care of the kids, make dinner, lifestyle for 40, 50 years. And then when you retire, a lot of people kind of lose that sense of self. What I like to encourage is a whole mindset shift of maybe don't think of it as retiring from something, but retiring to something. Okay, maybe it's finding some hobbies that you never knew you had, or maybe picking up some old ones, doing some volunteer work, just staying socially engaged can really make a big difference on whether you have a fulfilling retirement or one that's filled with regret. Retiring without a purpose can lead to what I call the 3 Ds, okay? It's divorce, decline, and depression. Now let's talk about that a little bit. Why is divorce part of the 3 Ds? Well, you've been working for 40, 50 years. You've, had this routine where you and your spouse are just kind of doing their own things. You come together maybe in the evening and prepare dinner, do time with the kids, spend time with each other on the weekends. But for the majority of your time, you're away from your spouse. And so now that you're retired and you have to be at home with them all day, you kind of have to get to know them all over again. And you fell in love with them at the beginning of your career when you were younger. Things are different 30, 40, 50 years later, and you might be totally complete, different people. So that's why divorce rates are pretty high in retirement phase. Now, decline, that has to do with your physical and mental health. You have a lot of retirees that they're not active anymore. They're not engaged. They're kind of just maybe becoming potatoes, for lack of a better word. You want to make sure that you are staying engaged with your community or your kids, your grandkids, just being active. Don't let your health be the determinant of how well your retirement is going to be lived. Okay, and then the last thing there is depression. Whether you have a spouse or not, again, you need to be active, you need to be involved, because a lot of people get lonely. They lose those connections that they had at work. They don't keep in contact with the people that they were talking to on a daily basis for years. So it can get kind of lonely, and obviously that can lead to depression. So you want to avoid the 3 Ds in retirement by making sure that you are retiring to something and not from something. Great. I'm glad we had this talk. Number 5 is skipping experiences to save money. Now, I can be a little guilty of this at times, but one of the most heartbreaking regrets is not spending experiences in retirement, not spending on experiences in retirement. Now, obviously, I'm not retired, but making sure that you're not just saving money for a rainy day and saving money for, I might need it later, I might need it later, I might need it later. Well, you are probably missing out on some opportunities that you can take advantage of while you're still healthy, while you're still able to do those things, okay? Not traveling or pursuing passions like early in retirement, right? This is what I call the go-go years. When your health and energy are the highest, I mean, that is probably one of the biggest regrets that I hear from some of my older retirees, because guess what? You can't buy back time, you know? Having a balanced spending plan in retirement can help you enjoy life now, but still make sure you're not jeopardizing your future. And that brings us to our Uncharted section of today's episode. Now, there's some smarter approaches that you can take when it comes to flexible spending strategies in retirement. One of the ones that I use with 90% of my clients that are already in the distribution phase of retirement is called guardrails, okay? It allows you to spend more when markets are doing well, and then tighten the belt a little bit when markets aren't doing so well, okay? But being disciplined about something like that is what's gonna, number one, make sure you don't run out of money in retirement, and number two, make sure you're not leaving too much money stuffed in your mattress when you pass away, okay? Another option that I've heard advisors use is called the bucket strategy, right? It's similar to, I'm not gonna say his name, but there's a popular financial guru out there that millions of people listen to, uses an envelope strategy where you're dividing your money into different envelopes for different things. Now, this is pretty similar, but you're looking at different buckets of money. So you have a short-term spending money, you have long-term growth money, and then you have emergency fund money. And just allocating the money correctly where those need to go can help you determine, okay, I can spend for this or I need to save for that, right? By utilizing one of these strategies, it can give you the confidence to enjoy the experiences that are available to you now without having to worry about market volatility or taking money out when the market's low, right? That kind of goes back to the whole war chest strategy that I've talked to probably a million times already on this podcast. So if you're paying attention, good on you. If you're not, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can get more helpful strategies in planning your retirement. We'll close this off today with a couple of call to actions is start saving early, plan for healthcare, think carefully about your Social Security, because remember, you can only choose it once. And then don't postpone living your life, okay? If retirement is on the horizon, it's time to think about your strategy now. So if you have an advisor and maybe want a second opinion, or you don't have an advisor and want to start planning your retirement, please don't hesitate to reach out. There will be contact information in the description below so you can get on the calendar with myself or another advisor here at SWBC, and we can make sure that your entire financial plan is working for you, not against you. So just some quick disclosures. Anything that I talk about on this show is my opinion and my opinion alone, not that of SWBC or the executives here. Also, nothing that I talk about is to be taken as legal, financial, or tax advice. You're going to want to make sure that you consult with your professionals on any of that. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace. It's not too late. It's never too late. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Yo me gusta.
Investing involves certain risks, including possible loss of principal. You should understand and carefully consider a strategy's objectives, risks, fees, and expenses, and other information before investing. The views expressed in this commentary are subject to change and are not intended to be a recommendation or investment advice. Such views do not take into account the individual financial circumstances or objectives of any other investor that receives them. This information should not be considered a solicitation nor a recommendation of an offer to provide any service in any jurisdiction where it would be unlawful to do so under the laws of that jurisdiction. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Please consult with your individual tax professionals and/or attorney for additional information.